AI coding assistants are not assistants anymore. They are junior developers on steroids who also hallucinate like they are on drugs. Online, you'll hear the same fairy tale. AI writes my code, now I'm a 10x engineer, life is amazing. But in real life, all of those AI build projects collapse after the second prompt. Devs quietly hide their AI commits, and teams pretend they aren't using AI because security said no. The uncomfortable truth is AI can now do the coding part faster than most engineers. The real skill is no longer typing code, it's architecting, steering, and containing the AI so it doesn't torch your code base. If you can't read and review code, AI will ruin your project faster than a junior with production access on Friday night. If you can, it will save your weeks. And the gap is growing. Teams that embrace AI with structure are accelerating, teams that resist are already falling behind. That's what we are unpacking today, the real workflow, the screw up, the wins, and what coding actually means in 2025 when your job shifts from writing code to directing a swarm of AI developers. My name is Leo Sushev. I'm a co-founder of MK Dev, where we help companies move faster with cloud-native platforms, automation, and AI-augmented engineering, maybe vibe coding sometimes. We'll see. This is DevOps Accent, the show where we get past the hype and talk about how software is actually built today. And this time, all three of us here, my beloved MKDev co-founders Kirill Shervinkin and Pablo Inigo Sanchez. Let's get to it.
Welcome to DevOps Accents, a podcast on everything around DevOps, public cloud, and cloud-native topics, with your hosts, Pablo, Leo, and Kirill.
All right, let's get to it. Hello, Pablo. Hello, Kirill. Nice to have you back, both of you. How have you been?
Good. How are you?
Great. Not too bad. Not too bad. Pablo.
Everything okay?
Mi amor. Mi amor.
Everything is good, my amor. So, long time since my last
appearance here. Yeah, I agree. And so we've been trying these AI assistant editors ourselves, and we've been discussing that internally in the chats and with our clients and things like that. So I decided to, okay, why not to discuss this in public? Even I tried that. I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the company, but even I tried that. I tried that with a side project on a basic, simple HTML and JavaScript website project. So the thing is, Codex ruined it beyond repair, and the site website doesn't work anymore. It has simple JavaScript for burger and for smooth scrolling. And I tried a few updates, and now I can't even scroll the website, and I don't have to fix that other than rolling everything back. Luckily, I made some backup. So I wanted to check your experience with that, how maybe you were more lucky than I was. So, and what I'm reading across the web, across Twitter, X, whatever it's called, these tools are no longer like a chat next to your idea. And I'm reading that, I'm getting inspired by it, and I always have this itch to try it myself and see if I can become a good developer. They are inside the editors now. They run code searches, and they suggest you fixes, and even some of them, they can be proactive, saying, oh yeah, I can fix these messages. Pricing also moved from simple monthly plans to credit or usage models. A lot of things changed. So my question to you guys, how do you find it evolving? Do you see it? Do you see yourself using it more? What is your everyday usage of it?
So, in my opinion, when you talk about vibe coding, the idea to use natural languages to be able to generate your code. So, the point is that really these days is super difficult to understand what is made by a person and what is made by a machine. So when you see something, really, even the companies, depends of the companies, they're in some cases not forcing but telling to the people to use that. I think that is something that in the next months or years will be the natural way to work. So at least what I have seen in my experience in the last month.
I guess my main question was, I still have questions for big edits across many files, because I've read some examples where they have, when you run some task and the task runs for 40 minutes straight. And when I was trying that, it says I'm working and it's stuck there for 5 minutes, and I thought that there's some error, and I just relaunched that because I assumed there's an error. It's just stuck, but no, it was working. It was working, and then there are tasks where the machine works for 40 minutes, and they're prospecting that in the next year, or maybe in the next month, it will be the task like 8 hours long. Is this even a thing? Is it possible? That's just my impression of that. The tool is slowly but confidently replacing some part of the job. Do you feel the same? Do you do that in your everyday work? Kirill, what do you think?
I think the biggest change in this whole process is like it started with not even the chat, because the chat came like as a second iteration of this AI coding. The first was kind of this GitHub Copilot autocomplete, where it kind of just suggests or adds code directly in the file. Then there was this brief moment where we had a chat. Basically, you have like whatever, like a ChatGPT, like singing next to your code editor. But the biggest, that was already a lot. Like that was the moment when I at least could, like, I write lots of scripts, like for stupid migrations and whatnot, like it's like one-time tasks. And right now it takes me like 5-7 minutes to write the scripts, and it's been like last year and a half. Is that I need to do some refactoring. Then okay, write me a script that is like bash script that is doing this, and this. And there's from the first attempt I get the script, and I just save like 5 hours of my workday. But the biggest change was when they introduced this agentic mode, where basically, like in terms of LLMs, nothing, in terms of models, nothing really changed, right? So it's okay, models became like bigger and smarter, but they work the same principle. You just ask something, they give you something in return. What changes how different companies like Cursor, like also like GitHub, Microsoft, and so on, wrap calling these LLMs. And when they did this agentic wrapper, where you just give a task and then software that wraps calls to AI model is doing like many steps and tries to complete tasks, because it can like read multiple files and can execute some other tools like listing files in directory, changing files, and so on. So-called like coding agents was the biggest change, at least for me, because at some point when I think Cursor was the first one who added it properly, and they just realized that, okay, now I have like unlimited power. It was like this moment with this what was this movie with Jim Carrey, like Bruce Almighty, when he gets all the power and he goes and he just like snaps fingers and then everything just happens around him. That was this moment for me, because it's like, okay, now with the lack of time I have, I can actually still do almost everything I want to do with this agentic coding, because it's finally able to do big features for me. I can just give any repository we have internally, any web app, give a task, wait a couple of minutes till it completes the task, review the code, give some like maybe adjustments, and that's it. And then of course you can parallelize it. Like you can ask like start 5 small features in parallel. You just have this army of small developers. And it was incredible. Like the amount of things, like when I look at what Pablo and I created code-wise this year, I think it's more than like previous 5 years in total, the amount of code.
For you in real life and real use, what were the most time-saving thing that it helped you with, or helping you with right now? Like, so what are those? Like code searching or task scaffolding, refactors?
For me, the most important part to save time is the idea that you don't need to know a language. You don't need to because this year Kirill and I have been working in languages that we never we never use. So it's completely news for us, and you don't need to be an expert to use that. For example, for me, JavaScript. I never used JavaScript, and we have been able to create many tools in JavaScript with no knowledge, at least in my case, of JavaScript. So the first time that you use JavaScript, but the only thing is that these days, day by day, what you need to understand is you need to be more an architect. And it's what Kiro was telling you, have an army behind you. So you are the architect and you need to have a clear vision and a clear idea, because these models are going to try to disrupt you and goes to the right or left, because many times they understand what you're telling in different way, but you need to be a good architect and tell, I want to do that and that and that and that, and doing this way and this way and this way. And these models will do perfectly. And other important theme that we have now is the size of the context, because this is something that is a game changer too. Because with this huge amount of million size context, now what you can do is you can tell, okay, it's not like before. You have a file. No, you have a huge folder with a humongous number of subfolders, and then in these subfolders, what you're going to do is you're going to tell whatever thing in the subfolders. Now, for me, this is crazy. Is how it's changing and what could happen in 2026. This is very, eh, for me, it's crazy to see what could happen.
For me, there's saving time, right? So the point where I save time on the tasks I already do was already last year, with this kind of small scripts, small edits of the files. That was okay, I would work on this in any case, and I would spend previously 4 hours, and I spent 10 minutes on some script. But what changed this year is it's not even about saving time. I would not even start working on some things before these tools existed. I would be no, fuck it. I need to spend my whole weekend just working on this 10 hours, 2 days in a row before Monday starts. I would not even touch it. And I just throw some tasks at Claude Code, and in 1 hour I have the application. Of course, I understand really well how application needs to function, what Pablo was telling, and that's a huge benefit. I don't just say create me an app that is doing this and this. Even though I try this as well, we can talk about it later, and it worked pretty well as well. But in most cases, I actually I know technical implementation I have in mind. I just don't have patience or time to implement it. And I would just start the agent, and then it does it for me. If you just look at if you go to MKDev website from your mobile to our post section, we've did a redesign of our mobile navigation. So when you go to mkdev.me/posts, there is this fantastic, beautiful hamburger icon with very easily let's jump between different sections and so on. Never before MKDev sucked so little on mobile. I'm not saying it's not perfect, but it was horrible before, and now it has navigation on mobile. That was 20 minutes of work with just giving existing MKDev Rails app, which is it's a very old app, 2014 originally, the first commit. Just saying, okay, add me this navigation, create a partial, just use stimulus controllers and Manila.js, don't add any frameworks, and so on. And you have this navigation, git commit, push, and it's live.
We have quite different experience with that, and apparently I made some mistakes when I was trying to ask it. I wasn't working with Claude. I worked with Codex. Maybe that's a mistake. I don't know. But for me,
that's definitely a mistake.
Yeah. Okay. So, but again, a lot of people on Twitter, they say how awesome Codex is, and I've been looking this OpenAI presentation that they were demonstrating it. Okay, it works flawlessly. But okay, so I tried it, and it ruined the code beyond repair, even though I didn't ask it to modify anything in the burger menu. I don't know why it's broken now. So apparently I did something wrong, where you did something right. Where do you think this difference came from? Is there any recipe that you can share? Because obviously you have a success story here. So what are the I don't know, like the good steps, the good advice. For example, like the smaller and clearer the task is, the better the result, for example. Or you want to give it a tight brief, or review the differences, or keep each change scoped, something like that. What are the good must-have advices?
The cloud tech industry is evolving so fast. Do you keep up with it by improving your skills or upskilling your team? At MKDev, we offer a variety of workshops for just that, from the basics to expert knowledge. Before delivering our workshops and training sessions, we carry out a detailed assessment of each participant. To make sure the workshop is helpful for you and your team, we will add more content to it or throw out what you already know. Or we create a custom workshop specifically for the needs of your team and the specifics of your project.
There are lots of like new habits to get when working with these tools, but I'm afraid like most of these habits, they still assume that that's maybe the issue. Okay, it's not the issue, it's like still incredible progress, but it's like in 2025 to make proper use of these tools, you still need to have some like IT/developer background. If you like never developed a thing, even though like my nephew was able to successfully launch a product when he's not like a developer as well, but maybe a bit more like he learned programming in university and whatnot. But still, like if you know nothing, you'll probably get to the point where you just break everything. Like you'll start with a single prompt, you'll get a beautiful website, and if you don't understand what coding agent did is for you in this first iteration, like the second iteration might break things because you need to guide it and you need to know what's happening. Like if you don't know what's happening, then it's gonna be horrible. And like sometimes I get distracted by the awesomeness. It's really easy to lose like focus with this because you just start like 5 coding agents in your terminal and then you just forget and you don't review everything properly. And you blink and then just this LLM just wrote lots of shit and you need to clean it up. And if you don't know that it wrote lots of shit, then that's it, basically. But what helps me a lot is, and I have a whole collection of like best blog posts and guidances. Like maybe we should share it at some point. It's like 20 different links that help me. Is, for example, ask LLM to keep the change log. So you just like in every coding tool, you can give it like kind of a default instructions what it should do always, and you just say whenever you make a change, summarize your change in a changelog.md file, so that it adds a new feature and it explains like what it did and writes it down. So next time when you ask it to implement a new feature or fix the previous feature, it knows what to look at. Then you need to ask it to document, like write documentation. And it's a bit like working with a human, right? So because human would also forget what's happening. So you just ask, okay, now please in docs folder, create a full documentation of how our payment processing is working. And then it's now called context engineering because we are beyond prompt engineering. We need to engineer context for the models, and that's the most important part, so that you kind of lead them. It's like in this office quote, right? Like you need to lead them when they feel like they want to be led. You need to give them all of this. And I have a friend who said like it's actually no different. Like there are all these tips for working with coding agents. They are actually not different from the tips you would follow just by working with other human developers. Like one of the common tips that like leave comments in your code, which is good. Like you can go to your code and say like, please don't fucking touch this function because if you touch it, then like half of the application breaks. You could leave this comment and you could say, okay, I left this comment for AI, but actually this comment would be useful for a human developer as well. So there is no difference this way.
And one of the most interesting things is the context, because when you are, imagine for 3-4 hours, you are adding entries to the agent and you're telling things and things, the context is ending. And the problem is that you can't remember everything because your context is huge. And the problem with the context of the agent is that is limited. So the problem is that he or she or it forget what he did, imagine 1 hour ago, 2 hours ago, and you think that he is always remembering everything. And this is not true. And for example, this idea of Kirill to have a log of all the changes, what I'm doing in my case, I always leave a folder with all the documents or documentation. But the problem is that you need to tell remember to read the files here in case that you don't know something, and then do that. But the problem is again something else. If you do that, he's going to waste the context size with this information, and then he's going to use another tokens to do something else. And the problem is that the amount of tokens are going to disappear at the end, and the context is going to be limited. And at the end, for example, application like a Cursor, what is doing in these cases, they grab everything, make a summary of everything that happened in this moment, and just start again. So, but this is very important, that you need to remember that the models are not remembering everything, and you need to be there. But for me, the most important thing is what we talked at the beginning. You need, and what Kili says, you need to know what you are doing, because you cannot tell, hey, I want to make an application like Google. See you. I will back in 2 hours. This is not going to work. So it's not working like that, because could be that he's doing to you the front end, and you back, and you have a nice front end with a search engine that is able to check in a table with 4 entries. But this is not what you want. So you want something different. And to do that, you need to understand architecture. You need to understand how to set up the libraries, how to work with that. And maybe, as Kirill was telling, maybe in 1 year, 2 years, you don't need to know anything. And you only tell, I want this kind of app. You click a button, 2 hours later, you have the app deployed in App Store. And then you are making money of that.
Maybe even earlier, because I mean, in the end, it's not about the model. The model can already do all of this, right? It's just the tooling. That's why these tools like this Swedish startup, which is like outgrew everything, this Lovable, there's another like Base 64, I think it's called, is you just wrap LLMs with better tools. Like why I stopped using Cursor, because in like Cursor and Claude, they're using the same model, Sonnet, what is it now, 4.5. But you just get different results. Like when you use Cursor and when you use Claude Code, it's just like it's completely different output what you get. And why is that? It's not because they use different model, like they use the same one. It's just Anthropic, they're spectacular how they wrap their own models with different tooling. So they know how to invoke, like reading the files, they know how to, like if you read the output of Claude Code in your terminal, you see that it's like, okay, there is a file with like translations, for example. The file is 50,000 characters. My limit is 2,000. Now I'm going to split this file in chunks. So this does all of these smart things automatically because how software is implemented. And it's not just the model itself. If you just take the model Sonnet 4.5 without anything else, you would not get the same result as what you would get with a proper tooling around it. And that's like what Pablo said about the context also. Like it's one of the typical most important, like maybe it's going to change, like, but this year is important. Once you have 1 million contexts available, it's going to change. But today is you need to really scope your changes and kill the session once you're done. And I always forget this. I just keep like talking to the same session in Claude Code, and I forget that I've been talking like for like 5 hours to the same agent session, and it's already confused because like it was working on backend, and now I've asked to add like Spanish translations, and then I ask it to like fix tests, and that's all of this like mixed in the same context. So it needs like just kill it, and then okay, like I added this feature, exit, start a new one, and now add this next feature, and so on. That helps a lot.
All right, so I see the adoption by the individuals is growing and it's working when you are the only person working with that, with the agent, with Companion, Copilot, whatever. But for the teams, the question is how to fit this into their normal everyday work. Are there any kind of approach that we want to exercise with them, or we want them to adopt, especially if we start working with the team who is already working with some AI agents in terms of code companions? What are the approaches? What are the helps? And what are there any suggestions?
I think that in 2025, October, that we are now, there is nobody working in IT that is not using any kind of AI tooling.
No, I mean when it comes to coding, because I can imagine like you're coding with a Copilot, or I'm sorry, with some tool that helps you, that reads your code, and you know that what you are feeding to it, and you know the constraints, you know everything, how you communicate with that. But when the whole team start using that, and are there differences or are there some guide rails that we need to apply to them? For example, like to cap the size of a single change, for example, in order to not to mess with the company's code.
Yes, what I tried to say is only that everyone is using that, but most of the cases nobody says that is using that. So is what I wanted to say. You are working in a team, and what you are not doing is, okay, using my cloud 4.5 Kinuka models, let's see what I'm doing. Clicking, and everything appear automatically. And the other one said, no, don't make this question in the prompt, make this other question. Because this is not how currently the teams are working. How the teams are working currently is that you have a code, the other person see the code, and they together decide what to do. And normally they don't involve the AI there. Normally this is what used to happen, at least in my experience. But I have to mind that in the next months, years, the people will change their mind. And the people will go with the different prompts. Oh, no, I executing this prompt. I think that this prompt is going to be better. And the people will start to talk about what prompt to use instead to talk about what kind of parameter they need to put in this line. So it's what I expecting. But today, few experience with people telling how to work directly with AI tools.
And then when you open the change, like it's the same rules as it doesn't matter how you created the code with AI tool or without the AI tool. You open the pull request. It's your name on the pull request. So if you use the AI to write this code, it's up to you, and you should, because I think lots of companies do kind of a misservice because they don't give a clear guidelines on AI, or just say like, no, AI bad, like don't use AI for our repositories because they're gonna steal over our like shitty code. So then of course like developers just like try to like sneakily use and try different things, and they maybe some of them don't use it correctly, because I know people who are like, oh no, I tried like AI coding and it sucks, like it doesn't work. Like, yeah, but no, it works. Like you just did it wrong probably. Like, but we all know that at this point it works. So if as a company you could just say like, use whichever tools, AI tools you can. Here is the license for Cursor. Here's the license for Claude Code. Maybe you have some guy who is like super good with this, and this guy could do some like training sessions internally, explain how to like write to the changelog, or like don't open like this kind of thing we just discussed. Otherwise, you just slowing your company down if you don't do this. Yes, there is this risk of like all your code is like being fed to Anthropic. I don't know what's the actual risk there is, but it's like you regulate it with license agreements and contracts with Anthropic. That's the only way you can probably regulate these kind of things, because what else you're gonna do? But just forbidding it makes no sense. Hiding it also makes no sense, because you're gonna see more and more is that like within every company there's gonna be a developer who is just like outworking everyone. Like you would see like this guy is just like 200x developer compared to everyone else. And then when the one-on-ones come and performance reviews, he's like, okay, he used AI tools, but he just did more work than the rest of the department engineers combined. So people who didn't use AI tools would just look bad if companies focused on moving fast and building product and so on. So I think it's just like don't resist, just give everyone these tools and embrace them.
Yeah, the thing is, I was reading this report on Stack Overflow. They conducted a survey, very extensive, on developers, the technology they're using, how they're using the AI. And one thing is interesting, that most developers, they say that while they are using the AI tools, but many still don't trust the output. And I was wondering, like, there are a lot of like tips and tricks and best practices on suggestions on how to improve the everyday usage with that. But my question is how to actually measure the quality of the output? Are there any kind of metrics, or are there any simple rules for saying no to any change that AI proposed? Like, for example, is it too big, or is it too vague, or what are the metrics that you can that prove value here? Like, what would you track? Like lead time and PR rework or test coverage. So what can be done to improve the confidence and trust in the...
But that's like there's nothing new in this, right? So you get a code change. So first of all, because you use the tool to generate this code change, before you submit it, you should review it, right? Like, don't be stupid. Don't just like run like cursor, like change this and then push open pull request. You're just gonna embarrass yourself. Not fair. So you need to check the output, and as a developer with experience of writing code, you can evaluate if this code is okay or not. So then you open a pull request with this AI-assisted code change, and then you usually have peer review. So you have another colleague from your team, maybe a tech lead, maybe like a peer, who will just look at the code and give an approval. So you have another code review. And that's exactly the same process that you would go through without any AI tools. So everything is the same. It's just that, probably like when you work locally, instead of writing the code yourself, you ask AI to write the code, and then you review the code. And that could be also tricky because reviewing code is hard. Like, it actually takes sometimes more time to review the code than writing it yourself. You need to find this balance. But it's the same software development practices that you would always follow. Like, if you do infrastructure change and you see that it just inserts that secret in your code, you should probably see it during the code review phase, or even before you push. You should see that your AI assistant just tried to commit a secret inside the code base, which is like a no-go.
Pablo, any final words from your side as a guide or a suggestion? For example, why?
I love you. Bye. See you.
No, not like that. I mean, for example, when you start working with a new code or unfamiliar for the client, for the customer, do you trust AI agent to do that for you, like to give you the overview, to explain how it works? That the thing that Kirill was explaining earlier, like we need to understand how everything works, how everything connected, things like that. Do you trust to do that for you, or do you still do that for manual? And if you do, what are for those who starts on what they should do?
At the end, the best idea that you need to understand is that they don't know everything currently. That many things that they don't know, like you, like me, they said, okay, I know how is this thing, and then they align, but they think that this lie is true. And the main problem is that the prompt that we give is not a complete prompt. But the problem is that you cannot be writing 3 pages to make something that is only 2 lines of code. So why trust? Yes, but I always review what they do. So because the problem is, they really don't know everything, and they iterate many times over the same way, because many times they do the same thing. So over and over and over. And unless you move them out of this cycle, they're always going to do the same mistake. But you need to trust them in case that you want to use them, because there is no reason to use these kind of tools if you don't trust them. For sure that if you make a statistic, they generate less errors than, for example, than me. So because when I make a code, I need to push 20 times. Okay, this is not working. This is not working. This is not working. And when you have an AI, maybe this time with 2 or 3 pushes, that's all. How many times with only 1? And for sure that I made mistakes too.
Sure. All right, so that's the words of wisdom from Pablo for you guys. I think that's it for today. We will see you in 2 weeks or something like that. Make sure to be subscribed to the podcast.
Something like that.
Yeah. See you then. Be subscribed, give us likes, and don't forget to be subscribed to MKDev Dispatch newsletter. The links in the description. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There are no challenges that we couldn't overcome. Whether it is immediate infrastructure problems or planning a future project, we won't simply answer your questions. We become a part of your team to help you complete the mission. Our solutions consider the interests of your business and the combined expertise of the industry, as our staff is made up of more than a dozen experts in different areas who share decades of field-tested experience and knowledge with you.